from that point on, we were like, okay, we kind of have some answers, but like we really were just like, it didn't matter because we knew that, like, as believers and Christians, we were like, God writes his future. And
Mm,
even if this is a part of his story, like he fashioned, he has been knit, like this is on purpose.
yeah.
And I think when I could realize that he wasn't a mistake, it wasn't like God was like, oops, like
Yeah.
he was like, no, like this is on purpose and I'm going to use this. And so when I could see it that way, like I'm just, okay, God, like balls in your court, like Mac is yours.
Welcome to Love Makes a Way. You are listening to Jennifer Hoffman, founder and president of Life Options Network, and Beth Reynolds. On this podcast, we talk about creating a culture of life and how you can create that culture in your community. We hope that you listen and are encouraged. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Love Makes a Way. Today is a really great day. We have Caryn Hart with us today. She's actually a family friend, but Caryn has actually been super involved with Life Options Network since, I think, the beginning. She has done all of our banquets, all of this music. She actually did a worship night for us, which was incredibly powerful, and honestly, just an anointed woman of God. I felt like she should be on here because she not only has had an amazing music career, but she also has an amazing son who has special needs. And as we know, there are a lot of mamas in America right now, across the world, who have children with special needs, and oftentimes they don't have a voice. And so I wanted to have Caryn on here today to talk about that experience. But we're just honored to have her. Caryn, thank you for being with us today.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, honored to have you. So you had some years where you were in music. I would love for you to start with that just because you really are still an active musician. You do play at different venues and that sort of thing. But tell us about your music career and just kind of pre-kids, what that was like.
Yeah. So I grew up in church and my parents were pastors. So and they were also very musical. So we were part of some pretty small churches and we were the band, the family band.
Nice.
But I just grew up singing and loving music and loving worship. My dad played guitar. And so eventually I had him teach me some chords. I would always borrow his guitar. And I think he got tired of that. So he got me my own guitar. And then I really just wanted to learn the songs we were playing in church or some of my favorite artists. Jennifer Knapp was one of my favorites growing up.
Yes.
That'll a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted songs. I thought she was so cool. And then I naturally just kind of started writing my own music. I journaled all the time and kept so many diaries. And so I just kind of turned those into music and into songs and whatever season of life. And I just never thought I'd share any of those songs. I didn't write them thinking I'm going to be this like singer songwriter and I want to share these with everybody. I was actually pretty shy and timid and like completely afraid of the stage. And so it's just funny that I ended up actually going into music. So, yeah, I just started writing some songs and keeping them to myself. But then I went off to college and my roommates and people on my floor and people saw that I had a guitar. So of course they're like, I want to hear what you have. And so I started sharing music and then I kind of fell into just leading worship and helping with youth groups and the churches I was at, in different seasons. And so yeah, it just one thing kind of led to another and some doors kind of opened to just start sharing more of my music. And then I realized, oh, I have enough songs that like I could actually make an album.
I love
So
it.
a lot of encouragement from family and friends that were like, you need to record these because people wanted to hear it. So I just thought, okay, that's the next step. So yeah, it's kind of funny how I landed in it, but then I discovered I really enjoyed it and so I got married and was able to do music full time.
Wow.
My husband was really encouraging of that gift in my life and supported that. And so I would gig on the weekends and weeknights and just kind of fill my schedule wherever I could. And I would travel around to different like wineries and restaurants and any events, art festivals, and that just needed live music, and I do
Sure.
women's retreats and conferences, and yeah,
So cool.
any place that would ask and invite, and it just, yeah, it became a full-time thing. And then I would still lead worship on the weekends or for special events. And yeah, and then I we were it was like 5 years into marriage, we started having kids. So for the first 5 years, I was able to do that. And then, like I was telling you, things just kind of slowed down,
Sure.
and are still kind of,
Yeah.
in that phase. But
Yeah.
I've been able to still lead worship a lot, which has been a beautiful gift. So yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like you are very, like, able to go into different environments, kind of adaptable. Would you describe your music more as, like, Christian music or more as secular music or folk like, how would you describe your music?
Yeah, it's definitely Christian music. Um, there's lots of like spiritual undertones, and I would always joke that there's like a lot of sneaky Jesus because it's not necessarily same, or any like Christianese stuff that might be more familiar in like worship songs, but definitely he's in all the songs. A lot of relational stuff that people can identify with and relate with, as far as love and hardship and struggle. And so just kind of like, yeah, just definitely folky and indie singer-songwriter y. But yeah, definitely undertones of working out faith, and like Jesus at the center too. So
That's
yeah.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
think that's something that a lot of people, need
Yes.
in our culture today.
Yeah. Something positive. And
Yeah.
even to know that Christians struggle, I think is an
Yeah.
important thing, and to also be able to ask hard questions of God. And yeah, I think your music does that really well. So yeah, you guys go to Caryn Hart Music and watch some of her videos. So talented. In fact, I remember my brother, as she leads worship at his church in Stevenson, and many years ago came up to me with her link, and I was so amazed at just how beautiful she sounded. How is she not all over the radio? So truly talented artist, you guys. But so you were kind of doing that life, and of course started your family, your beautiful family, and had your son, your first son, Mack, and went on
Mhm.
kind of a journey with that. Tell us a little bit about that. Right now, he has special needs, and we would love to learn about your story of becoming a mom, and in this way that maybe wasn't expected, and just kind of help us understand from your perspective what that was like, transitioning from music to full-time momming in a way you weren't expecting to necessarily.
Yeah, definitely. It was very, very wild. It still is a wild journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pregnancy wise, everything seemed pretty textbook, and there was no reason for any concern. I was healthy. Baby was always healthy at all the checkups. So I didn't think I needed to do any of the genetic testing and all the additional stuff that's always an option. And so yeah, no reason for concern. I did end up going like 42 weeks with him, and it was like
Wow. That's
40+ hour labor. So it
yeah.
was a lot.
Yeah.
So the time he came, like I was just so relieved, and I was like, it was all worth it, obviously. But yeah, any mama knows it's like, okay, finally. But yeah, and so that first night in the hospital, everything was just wonderful and magical and perfect, and you're just on that like high, and it's just the most wonderful feeling ever. And it was actually the next day that this fluky thing, crazy thing happened. I was holding him, and all of a sudden he just turned purple,
Wow.
and you could hear cold blue across the hospital. And then they rushed him, all the nurses grabbed him and rushed him, and were giving him oxygen. And I was just like, what in the world is happening? Just frozen. And so we ended up being in the NICU for like just a week, because they were monitoring him and watching if that like episode happened again. And it didn't, thankfully. So they were just running all the tests. And even the doctors were like, hey, yeah, we have no idea what that was, but
Yeah.
he seems fine now and he's cleared to go home. So we just thought the worst was behind us. And we're like, okay, that was a little traumatizing.
Sure. Yeah.
First time mom, first time NICU, like anything and everything, first time, right? And so we go home, and unfortunately, that started happening again. We were
Mhm.
at home when it happened. We'd be out at other appointments and it was happening. And thankfully, not like crazy long spells, but it was happening frequent enough that, like, even once isn't, shouldn't be happening. So, his pediatrician was like strongly, urged us to go straight to like the children's hospital. Thankfully, we live near two really amazing ones here near Portland, Oregon. And so we went there, and he actually ended up having those like episodes again. And so there was a team of people. It's such a world to think about now.
Mm.
But they were able to confirm that it was seizures. And so
Wow.
I didn't know that seizures would cause that, and I'd never seen that, in a baby. That's for sure. So
Sure.
we thought, okay, he's having seizures. That's really scary and freaky. And so we get him on some anti-seizure meds. We go home and we think, okay, like, all right, the worst is behind us.
Right.
And then he kept having seizures. And so just this game of like back and forth with the doctors of trying to figure out what was going on and trying to just maintain and manage. And so eventually we got to a place where he was okay. But he, after a little while wasn't really hitting the milestones that you're looking for,
Sure.
with typical babies. And so, because of the seizures, we were already seeing a neurologist, and she had recommended that we do some genetic testing on him. And so we did that when he was around 6 months old, and it came back that he had a chromosomal abnormality, and
Okay.
so that's what was causing the seizures. So at least we had a why for the
Mm.
seizures, but with the genetic disorder or the chromosomal abnormality, it was still a lot of question marks.
Sure.
A lot of like taking me back to biology and showing me like DNA and how it all works. And they could pinpoint that it's like the chromosome 15 and he just has like duplication of one of them. And it's just wild, the science. It's just crazy. And so from that point on, we were like, okay, well, he technically was like diagnosed undiagnosed because that rare chromosomal abnormality is like it's so rare that there's not really a name or a syndrome. He doesn't really fall into any special, like category of.
Sure.
So that made it a little tricky because instantly I was like, okay, so like, where do I find other families that have kiddos like this?
Right.
And so yeah, from that point on, we were like, okay, we kind of have some answers, but like, we really were just like, it didn't matter because we knew that, like, as believers and Christians, we were like, God writes his future. And
Mhm.
even if this is a part of his story, like, doctors say a lot of things, but I know
Yeah.
that, I know a lot of people who've defied what the doctors have said. And
Yeah.
so we just kind of kept his life and continue to like open-handed with that. But yeah, so it's just been from that day on, it was like, okay, so this is
This
what's
is how
going
it
on with
is.
him. And because of that, just a lot of like, he's nonverbal, so he can't talk, he doesn't walk, yet is what I like to
Yes.
say.
Amen.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just, like, he has really low muscle tone, and so he needs a lot of help support, like, sitting up and, a lot of support with his joints and his muscles, and, he actually yeah, it's just been a wild ride of kind of one day at a time, literally, of just trying to figure out what his needs were and then finding the right resources for that, but
Sure.
especially as a first-time mom, you're just trying to keep the baby alive, and
Right.
this is, like, in the literal
Extra.
sense, but I was definitely living in, like, is this, like, always watching him, always making sure he was breathing, like, looking at his color because I was just like, when's he gonna have another spell of, like, not breathing and just yeah, so I was in a lot of shock for a long time, and, yeah, and I just so thankful that one day at a time, we found the right resources and the things that he needed, but, it was definitely a shock to my system, and I think I lived in that shock for a while. It was just survival mode.
Sure.
How how has your faith impacted, especially like that first year of like, what is even going on? And my baby is not acting like,
Mhm.
a typical baby. That's scary. How was your faith? Was it really impacted? Was it the only thing carrying you through? Can you kind of describe that season?
Yeah, I think it definitely we always say that, like, Mac has totally, like, reshaped our faith in so many ways because thankfully we were very full of faith and had great my husband and I had great relationships with the Lord, and I think speaking for myself, I was a little bit I don't know if I wanna say ignorant, but I was just like, "Whatever happens, it's okay. God's gonna heal him," you know?
Yeah.
And that was probably a little bit more before, like, we had the genetic testing. I was just, like, really strong and like, no, these seizures are gonna like he's not gonna have these seizures, like he's gonna walk, he's gonna talk, he's gonna do all these things. And I rode that for a long time until I realized that like, okay, like God can and does obviously heal and
Yeah.
he can and do that with Matt. But if he doesn't, I kind of had to ask that big question to myself, like if he doesn't, like what do I believe
Yeah.
about God? And is he still who he says he is if he doesn't do these things that I think he should do in Matt? And so a lot of just questioning, like, okay, what is it that I do believe, and what does that look like, and what does that mean? So it's been, I mean, I feel like I'm still in that journey of like, okay, Lord, like, what does it look like to walk through this and to
Yeah.
trust you and believe you for things. And like, and if it doesn't happen the way I think it should, like, yeah, where is my faith in that? And so basically I just came to that, like, either like it's all true or none of it's true. And
Mhm.
so um that his journey, Mac's journey, all of our journeys, like God is who he says he is. I just think like healing's going to look different, and I just have to
Mhm.
trust God's plan for that. That Mac's life is going to look like whatever God intended it to look like, and I've
Yeah.
got to trust God with that. And so yeah, it's really helped me just open my eyes to and my heart and just to understanding and really digging more into scripture and not just taking it at face value because I've just like slapped verses on things and said prayers,
Yeah.
thinking I knew what that meant. And I was like, no, like I have to really like I really had to try like understand what that meant. So yeah, I think it's always growing and I'm always going through these different seasons of like it's so crazy with like you think you know it and then you realize the more you know, the less I don't know, the less you actually know. And
Yeah.
so um it just caused me to like thankfully still have the Lord as an anchor because I know a lot of people can like run the other direction and
Yeah.
because they're not seeing what they want to see, that they're gonna blame God or they're gonna not understand why this would happen. But yeah, I think some obviously like a verse that we probably are all familiar with, like Psalm 139, when it talks about how like God created us in our mother's womb and how we were fearfully and wonderfully made. And
Yes.
I think that just became way more. I was like, that's Mac's verse. Like he is
Yes.
fearfully and wonderfully made, even
Amen.
down to like the chromosome, you know?
Yes.
And so it's like he fashioned, he has been knit, like this is on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think when I could realize that he wasn't a mistake, it wasn't like God was like, oops, like
Yeah.
he was like, no, like this is on purpose and I'm gonna use this. And so when I could see it that way, like I'm just okay, God, like balls in your court, like Mac is yours.
Yes.
And however you want to use and use me. And yeah, I think it's just, yeah, open my eyes to so much more and just to learn that like to know Christ is to know suffering. And I think we
Mhm.
forget that sometimes. Like
Yes.
suffering isn't like the devil necessarily.
Right.
That is like a part of life and Christ suffered.
Yeah.
And so if we can embrace it and know that he's with us in the suffering, he's with us in the pain, that has brought like a whole new, yeah, perspective to me about like him walking with us in it. And it's not when it's great and you're on the mountaintop and everything's good. It's like when you're thick in the pain and the grief and the sorrow,
Yeah.
like finding him in that. And I hadn't ever experienced that before. And so it was a
Mm.
whole new level of faith and just nearness to the Lord that I hadn't had before. So
That's beautiful. I love that you talked about the fearfully and wonderfully made because there are a massive percentage of children who have genetic disorders who never get a chance to live. And a lot of women and families actually decide not to keep their children in that circumstance. If there is somebody right now listening who is going in for genetic testing and they're concerned about their future and that what that would look like, or they did get a diagnosis they weren't expecting, what would you tell them?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just what I said, that like God doesn't make mistakes,
Yeah.
and that his plan and his purpose is always better than ours. I like to think of the story in John, where Jesus is with his disciples and they come upon the blind man, and they're like, "Hey, Jesus, like who sinned? Was it the man or was it his parents that caused him to be blind?" And Jesus said, "This happened so that the works of God might be displayed in his life."
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what we've taken for Mac too, that like no matter what diagnosis, no matter what the doctor says, no matter what testing says, that like there's got to be a reason and a purpose. And God, yeah, just like God's design is that the works of him will be displayed in that life, whether it's a short season or a longer season. And so that's something I would just encourage, yeah, any mama going in and worried, anxious, fearful, but also for the what if, but just trusting God in the unknown, because he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
How important would you say when you are facing the unknown to lay down your own expectations?
Did you know that millions of mothers live in adverse poverty across the United States? At Life Options Network, we aim to support these mothers and really encourage them because we know that if we do that, their families will be more healthy and children will be much less likely to end up in foster care or worse, lose their lives. We have free stores, and these stores offer everything that women might need for having their children. So 0 to 5T is completely free to them. We give up to $5,000 worth of free product to every single mom that walks in our doors. We understand that provision is highly important for moms when they have young children, or maybe they found out that they are pregnant and they need all of these things as they think about the future for their kids. We can also talk about our advocacy program, which helps women when they're in places of homelessness, or maybe they need some food and they've run out for the week and that paycheck didn't quite get them where they needed to go. We help women find jobs, and we make sure that children are not living in cars with their mothers. This is something that is going on right now in the United States, and if you guys would like to be a part of helping us with that, you can give $10 a month to Life Options Network. That $10 allows one mom to walk through our doors at our free stores. We have one right now in Middle Tennessee, also on the West Coast, and we would love to have even more than that. Your giving changes and saves lives, and we know that together we can create a culture of life. If you would like to give $10 a month, you can go to the link in this episode description, and it will lead you to our website where you can give.
Yeah. I mean, I think like what I had to do is like let myself have those, and like let myself have the feelings and have the emotions. Um, because I think sometimes you can close yourself off to that, and that's not healthy and that's not good. Um, but yeah, I just think every day it's a it's a laying down of expectations, I think, because there's like any natural mom would want for their kid, like you, especially with your first kid, you're envisioning all these things, right? Of what you want for them, you hope for them, you're like what that's going to look like physically, right? And so I think for me, I've just been like, okay, God, you're rewriting the story, and I have to trust that it's more beautiful than I could make it, even though it looks so different.
Definitely.
And I think that's the thing, like you think it's like this is the way, like it should look like this, and because that's what you see maybe typical motherhood as, but it's almost like this beautiful gift to be able to experience it so differently, because there is that side that there isn't just one way to be a mom, or to one way to have a kid. Like
Yeah,
there's just,
true.
I don't know, so much beauty. And I think it makes us, for me, I was like, wow, God, like your creation, like we get so narrow, like we just get so focused on like what we think. And
Right.
so when that's shattered and broken open, you're like, whoa, okay, no, there's so much more beauty, even when it's hard. And
Mhm.
even when, yeah, it's painful, like there's still so much beauty in it. And like you wouldn't know things without experiencing that. And yeah, I do see it as like it's hard. You can hold both. You can hold both hard and good. And grief and gratitude, beauty and pain. You can hold both those things, and it's wild.
I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
And I love hearing you talk about Mac. I love hearing your story and your perspectives on it because, um, man, I just honor you,
Yes.
Caryn. And I can only imagine how encouraging you are I mean, you're encouraging to me,
Mm.
but how encouraging you are to also the other mothers that are a part of this very special community.
Yeah.
You said that you couldn't really fit Mac into like a specific diagnosis or a specific box, but
Mhm.
have you been able to find others in the special needs community? Have you been able to get plugged in? Do you have community with them?
Yeah. So, what was really great about that season of life was actually social media,
Ah, love that.
which I know,
Yeah.
pros and cons, right?
Yes,
But the
definitely.
beauty is that I started looking around. I'm like, okay, I have this baby that has these special needs, and like nobody in my circle of friends had. Maybe there were some friends that had some other kiddos with some things, but nothing like Mac, right? So then I'm like, I'm gonna go to social media, and I started finding, thankfully they're sharing their stories,
Yeah.
right? And so I found these families and these moms who I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. And so, not that like we're like necessarily friends on the internet, but I've been following them long enough to feel like less alone. And so
That's
as
awesome.
like moms and families start sharing their story, I mean, that I don't know, like it's wild how many people now that I find online. And oh my gosh, it's like even though they might be far away geographically, like that has created an amazing community. And so I feel, yeah, like that instantly was kind of what I found to feel less alone. I'm like, okay, there's another kiddo with similarities. Okay, they have the same equipment, or like, oh my gosh, they have that. Like, how do I get that? Like, it was just they're sharing about how to feed, or how to, I don't know, all the different services and resources. So that actually, social media has been such a huge gift and a blessing to just connect with and find other families and moms. But then, there's also what you want in person. Like, that's nice and that's
Right.
beautiful. But I started just, yeah, looking around like, okay, like, where are all the people that live like in my city? Like, there's
Sure.
probably way more than I realize. And I just don't see them.
Yeah.
And so actually what I started to do is like as I met these moms, it was like the Lord brought them to me.
Nice.
But I ended up at a church that had like 2 or 3 other moms that had kiddos with different needs, special needs. And I was like, okay, this isn't a coincidence. And so my heart was already for like finding these other moms who have these kiddos. And so I created my own group. And we started meeting, and as we grew and people knew other people, we've invited other moms in. And so it was kind of like, I don't see it, so I'm going to create it.
Yes.
And it's, we're just a couple years in of like actually doing things that, like we've done 2 retreats, and we try to get together like monthly or every other month, but just having that support system to know that you're not alone. Yeah. So it's hard because you do have to go looking
Yeah.
and praying, and I just feel like the Lord will bring people. Like, I've been at the park, like Mac has a G tube, so he's fed, through a button in his stomach. And so I'm feeding him. And another mom comes up and is like, oh my gosh, my son has a G tube too. And I'm
Wow.
like, awesome. And we like have him with her at the time, but we exchanged numbers. And she's like, I never see anybody else, with a kiddo that has a kiddo like mine. And I'm like, me either. And so it's kind of funny, like when you're out in the wild and you find another mom, and I'm like, where are they? Like, where
Yeah.
are they? And so you do have to go searching. And then when you find them, you like don't let go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been my experience, is just like anytime I come, and then now it's like word of mouth of like, oh, there's this mom who this community be really great for. And for us, it's really important that it's like we're faith based,
Yes. Yes.
because without Jesus, we can't do any of this, right? And
100%.
so, yeah, so it's just been this beautiful thing that I've gone searching for and have found, and I just continue to be encouraged by just feeling less alone,
Yeah.
because we need each other. It's a whole nother level, so.
So good. How has having a special needs son opened you up to just the world, and how, in terms of uh, the ability for him to access things, for him to be able to enjoy certain things, how can communities help special needs kids just really embrace life in a better way? Is that something you've run into?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm always now like I get, it's like my world now. So
Yes.
then I'm like, when it comes to like handicap parking, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they better have a handicap placard, and like
Yeah.
we have a wheelchair van now for him, which has been a huge blessing. And so it's like trying to figure out like the best parking in certain situations, like if all the handicap spots are taken up, like stuff like that. Like it's okay. You gotta think a little outside the box and be a little more creative. Even just entering into some buildings, I'm always like, hey, can Mac in his wheelchair, like, is it accessible? And you would think that like, where we're at, there would be a lot more accessible buildings and places and environments, and there actually aren't. It's
Yeah.
pretty sad. So,
Mm,
and I guess depending on where you live, like here we have a lot of older buildings. I'm sure everywhere does, but there's been a couple times where I like went to a post office and they didn't have an accessible entrance. It was just stairs, and I had Mac, and I was like, I gotta go mail something. So
right.
I had to go all the way to the back where like they drop off, like the big delivery truck drops off all the boxes. So, like I had to go back through the back, and it was just, yeah. So
Crazy.
things like that. I'm like, yes, I
Especially if
know,
you're
like it's
mailing
expensive.
something.
Yeah.
I feel like that should
Yeah,
be the number
you're like,
one
"What?"
place
Right?
they'd have help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yes. And actually, like, I mean, you can kind of get more into like churches too if we want, but we visited a church that's in an older building,
Yeah.
and the children's classes are downstairs, and they didn't have any way of getting, like, they didn't have an elevator, and they didn't have a ramp down outside for Mac to go and be in the kids class. And so stuff like that I'm always like taking note of, because it's like you'd think that these things would be there naturally, and they aren't always. And so even like playgrounds and parks, even some of the parks that are being built now, that they are really trying to be more accessible and have adaptive equipment. But there's still some that like, yeah, there's nothing for Mac to like
To do.
to get on or to do. Yeah, and so it's just stuff like that that I'm like taking inventory of, like, yeah, this world really like we've come a long way, but there's
Right.
still a lot
Some
more
growth.
we need to do in a lot, like, yeah, in every area. And so I always get really excited when I see like, oh my gosh, yes, like Mac, this would be amazing for him. But yeah, just even entering into some buildings, yeah, it just can be really
Me
frustrating,
too.
or doorways, or just trying to get around things in a wheelchair. And yeah, it's just, yeah, so lots of growth. But very thankful for the things that I find that I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes, because it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, huge. So
So good. And now you have 2 other kiddos now, and how has that impacted just your whole perspective on motherhood and your family? Just would love to hear more about kind of how just everybody came together, as you had more babies, and, just if that changed
yeah.
anything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes me laugh because like we really planned for Mac, and then
Yeah.
the other two were just wonderful surprises.
I love it.
So I think the Lord did that on purpose because he just knew that I would never feel ready,
Sure.
And so, yeah, actually Mac was only about 7 months old when I got pregnant with my daughter,
Mhm.
and I was just in complete denial because we weren't necessarily trying. And
Yeah.
so with all of his really recent, just like news of diagnosis and all of that, like, I just was like, "How am I supposed to take care of this other baby?" Like,
Mhm.
I have no idea, like, what I'm gonna do, and so it took me a long while to just, like, embrace and accept and just, like, trust God's timing and plan and all of it. And then she was born, the beginning of 2020, and we went into COVID, so, that was a crazy time for everybody. But it did feel at times like I had twins because a
Yeah.
lot of just Max, developmental delay. It was like, yeah, I just had two babies.
Mhm.
But then Jameson, my daughter, was just like such a joy to just see her like love on and tug on and grab Mac's hair and just we actually saw a lot more of like Mac's emotions and like facial expressions come out because there's this little baby that's like crawling around him and just like
Wow.
really interested in all the things he's doing. And I'm like, I'm feeding him a bottle, I'm feeding her a bottle, and then she's trying to feed him his bottle.
Yes.
And so it was just there's a lot of like beauty in that
Yeah.
really hard season. But what's been actually really wonderful is like as Jameson's gotten older, she's 6 now, but their relationship is like the most beautiful thing ever. She is like so protective of her brother. She loves him so much. She always looks for him at school. She's always like looking out for him and helpful. And if he's crying or fussing or she can tell he needs something, she's right there at his side and trying to advocate for him and help talk for him. And when people are asking questions, she's just giving them all the information. So it's been such a beautiful, like, you don't see that necessarily from the beginning, right? You don't think, oh, this is going to be the most beautiful relationship. And like, so I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't go into like, like therapy or works in that world,
Yeah.
with Mac. She does say she's going to marry her brother, which is really sweet.
Oh.
But it'll be a sad day when she realizes she can't.
Yeah.
But she just wants to live with him and be with him forever.
Oh.
And it's just the sweetest, most beautiful thing. And she's super helpful. Yeah, so it's just been like such a gift that I just didn't see coming with her, especially with that like shock initially. And then I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord. Like you
Yeah.
knew what we would need and what Mac would need,
Mhm.
and even what Jameson would need. I think siblings growing up with other with siblings that have special needs, it's like such a gift because now those people are equipped with just different set of tools to go out into the world and to be helpers and to
Yeah.
have different eyes to see. And I just see it like equipping them to go into, yeah, to be amazing humans in this world too. And so
Yes.
then came Theo, he's 3. So he came about 3 years after Jameson. And he was a surprise, but I also was like, okay, Lord, like I was feeling like Jameson, like she needs a little buddy, she needs a sibling to be able to play with and do all the things that she can't do with Mac. And so I just feel like it's such a gift to have the dynamic I have and
Yes.
like boy, girl, boy, and just be what it is for us. I've just seen, yeah, I've been able to experience both typical and non-typical. Like what a gift that I get to still experience both.
Yes.
And I know not a lot of parents can say that or have that. And yeah, it's hard and it's a lot of work, but like to be able to be in both worlds, like I feel like I get the best of both worlds with like Mac's world and all his different needs. And then my other kids with feel like a lot of the most typical needs. So like
Yeah.
I joke that like who's my 3-year-old, he is your typical classic toddler that is like running the show. And I'm just like, I'm like, Mac seems like a piece of cake some days compared to, and just the toddler land. And so, but yeah, I think it's a gift and a joy because now they help with all of Mac's things and they're just so much more aware too. And like,
Yeah.
it's like kids like Mac are gonna be like, oh, like they're not gonna think any different,
Yes.
like, oh, they're in a wheelchair like Mac too. Oh, they're G-tube fed like Mac too. Or like, oh yeah, they have a device like Mac has to talk. And it's just, I love it because it's like, yeah, like if you want to know how to like treat a kiddo with disabilities, just look at the siblings. Like just watch what they're
Yeah.
doing and just do that because like it's yeah, they have it down. They have it down. So it's just been a lot, but like it's so much beauty in all of the craziness and all of the hard. And
Mm,
I'm just really thankful that like I get to experience, what I have in all on all three of my kids. So
absolutely. Well, we're so honored that you were willing to share today and just give our audience some perspective on what's
yeah.
possible and really just how what a gift special needs kids are and what they teach you,
Yeah.
even that depth with the Lord that you have. And yeah, I commend you as well. You guys are just leaders in every sense of the word, and because you are speaking truth right now to so many people that are told something very different. And I'm just excited to share this episode because I think there's going to be a lot of mamas who hear it and are encouraged. So thank you again for joining us and for partnering with LON. She's going to be at our banquet in just a couple of weeks here. So if you guys want to say hi to her, but if you do want to get her music, is it on Amazon, Caryn? Where's it at?
Oh, you can find my music on Spotify and Apple Music,
Okay.
and then also on Bandcamp.
Okay.
But it's everywhere.
Awesome.
Everywhere. You type in my name and music, yeah, you'll find it. There's some old YouTube videos, but yes. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And thank you for sharing your beautiful story.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored. When people ask about, I just like to say, like, we want to be asked. Like, we want to be asked our story. Like, we like when people have questions about our kids. Don't shy away. I think that's just my encouragement for people that are like, how do I, like, what do I do? What do I say? Just talk, just
Yeah.
approach, just ask, because I love getting to talk about Mac. I would rather people ask questions than just like avoid and walk past, or
Right.
just be like, you know, people with kids that are like, oh, don't bug them. Like the kids are always fascinated with Mac's wheelchair. And I'm always like, no, yeah, come say hi. He loves people, he loves kids. And so I just think like, yeah, like ask and confront, and like go talk to these parents and these people that have these kids, because we want the attention. We really do.
Mhm.
We love talking about our kiddos, so it's a joy.
Wonderful. And I imagine the just mentioning too that there can be probably some isolation when people don't understand and they don't want to offend or whatever. But I love that you said that because that is
Yeah.
clarifying for
Mhm.
so many people. So
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you again, Caryn, and we will put this out for you soon. But praise God for all He's done in your life and in your kiddos and in your family's life. So
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. Be blessed.